Welcome back to Beers Up Sports Talk. Sibo in the house. Debo in the house. A not-so victory Monday. We'll get into that in a minute, but let's get started with the beers. Debo, what you drink?
I popped over to the liquor store tonight because I'm stocking up for tomorrow night's election. So I got some Greater Good V or 5 because it is a juicy Imperial 5-hopped IPA. It's pretty good. It's the first time I've ever had that. I did have one before we got on, but
looking
nice
good.
and dark, pretty good flavor. I like it.
I'm back on Trillium. This is only a double dried hop. It's not 5. It's just double. This is Stilling Street. Obviously, the color is
fantastic.
phenomenal.
I'm loving it.
Taste is phenomenal. All right, as I mentioned, it's not a victory Monday because it's only a victory Monday if both teams win. The Packers did not win. Both teams still stand at 6-2, right? Or 5-2 for the Packers.
5-2
for the Bills. The Packers, let me just say this. They came out firing as they normally do, and then just sputtered. Tell me what happened.
Dalvin Cook happened.
Well,
I mean, 30 carries, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 63 yards, and a touchdown. A 50-yard screen pass that I felt like it was 4 years ago where the Packers don't know how to tackle. And I think the crazy part is Dalvin Cook goes for 30 carries.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins goes for 14 attempts. Now, the wind was crazy in that game.
Yep.
There were 4 or 5 other games that the wind was crazy. It was 25-plus gusts. Rodgers, he threw it 41 times because for whatever reason, they had the ball a lot. They just couldn't finish. Mason Crosby was hurt, so they were going for it on 4th and 10 a lot of times where they'd kick a long field goal or a longer field goal.
Yep.
Listen, it was 14-14. Vikings got the ball to start the second half, scored. We went 1st and 10 around midfield, dropped by Tyler Ervin, 2nd down and 10, dropped by Tyler Ervin, 3rd down, dropped by St. Brown, and on 4th down, he just threw it up to the end zone, and it was misplayed. Like, it legitimately could have been caught, but he, instead of just letting it come to him, he actually went forward because I think he thought it was going to get intercepted. It was misplayed. Otherwise, it could have been a touchdown. Wasn't. Adams is a beast. We've been there, but it's got to stop. You can't rely on one person. Now, Tanyan had a good game. Lazard started practicing last week, and it sounds like he could be a go for Thursday. But it's been what we've talked about all season. One receiver and a bunch of players that don't do anything else. Lazard, at least at the beginning of the year, was pretty money. The other bad news is the defense is terrible at stopping the run. Got the 49ers coming to town. Or no, we're going to San Francisco, and thankfully it's not Mostert. It's going to be something of Jermichael Hasty, and
there's also going to be no Garoppolo and no
Kittle, right?
Kittle.
So that's what we're going to have to do is figure out how to stop the run again. San Francisco, doesn't matter who they put in there, they run. I don't know. It was a weird game. Instead of there was 12 seconds left, they should have did maybe a 20-yard out or something, and at least try to get another 20 yards. So they're only trying to throw a 30-yard pass instead of one Hail Mary at the end where he just didn't let it go in time. I don't know. It's a rivalry game. They lost by 6 points. It looked it looked terrible, but I think when you don't have a kicker, you can't make the field goals, especially in this wind. I'm not stressed, but I think something needs to happen on the defense because they have no playmakers right now. No one's making the play. I know they only had 14 passes, but they didn't get any pressure when there were presses, but you're sitting back waiting for the run, so it's hard to do that. I don't know. Division game. What are you going to do?
Right.
5-2.
Did they
still win in the division?
Did they go out and get a kicker? I know because I had Crosby in one of my leagues, and it was kind of like him and Han all week of whether or not he was going to be healthy. Did they even sign somebody, or did they just kind of?
They brought someone up off the practice squad, but he kicked the first two extra points.
Okay.
And then they went for 2 for some reason. So I wonder if he just was stiff and just couldn't get loose, because they went for 2 at the end, or not the end, but the touchdown before.
It is crazy to me about the fact that they're not trying to do anything on the wide receiver front. Like, I heard that later they were interested in Antonio Brown. Like, okay, but like, Des Bryant was out there. I know he signed to the Ravens practice squad. Like, there's going to be guys that are going to be available this week in trade. Like, it just doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't pick somebody up. I don't know what the Packers' plan is, but what's the harm in picking up somebody who can catch the ball? Because to your point, people are dropping the ball. I mean, you mentioned people. You didn't even mention MVS this week, and I'm sure he had about 8 drops. But who knows?
I don't even know. I'll be honest. Didn't watch the whole game because I didn't have the station it was on. I don't have the ticket, but I think he only saw 2 targets. He got 1 run for 4 yards. Yeah, unfortunately, what the brass is going to say is Lazard is coming back. We don't have to trade for anyone because we're getting our trade deadline player. Like, I know that talks intensified about Will Fuller. They were talking back and forth this week, but it's not going to happen. Like, show me it's going to happen. But at this point, with Lazard coming back, I'm okay with them trying to find a defensive player. Like, right now, because it's not working. I mean, I know 5-2, the world's not over, but we need someone who's going to make a play. Good news, I think I said it, Kirksey's cleared for practice, so hopefully he can, if he's not back this week, he's back next week. Unfortunately, A.J. Dillon is on the COVID list. Jamal Williams is on the COVID contact tracing list, as is the linebacker, Kamal. I just read it and I forgot it. It's slipping my mind, but he rookie, second year, and he took Kirksey's place basically. So, we may, if Aaron Jones isn't healthy, we might be starting Tyler Ervin and Dexter Williams, I think it is.
Yikes.
Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah, but again, to your point, it's a rivalry game, it's a division game, and y'all still sitting at 5-2.
Right.
Can't
and I mean, I feel good. Bears ended up losing. They don't look good, so I'm sure we can talk about that later.
No. And I mean, in terms of the Bills, I mean, I'm pumped we beat the Patriots. Sean McDermott's first win against the Patriots in his coaching career with the Bills. 24-21. It should have been – I mean, I don't want to say it should have been a beatdown, but, like, the Bills could have put more points on the board. They were running the ball all over the Patriots, and then there was just a couple of drives after they ran the ball down their throat where they'd come out and try to throw the ball or try to be cute with it or try to do something that didn't make sense, like just handing it off to their 2 running backs who both ran for 80 yards. Like, they moved the ball. They did what they were supposed to do. Like, and then on defense, I just don't know. Like, why they didn't just put 8 in the box and blitz every single time, I'll never understand. Because, yes, Cam Newton made a couple throws, but that guy's not comfortable. He's just not comfortable throwing the ball on a consistent basis. And the Patriots the Bills let him make a couple of throws, and then they drop back, and then they start running the ball. And it's just like, here I am screaming at the TV because I'm like, just put 8 in the box and blitz every time. And if Cam Newton throws the ball over somebody's head, good. But I don't think he can actually do that. I don't think he's that good. And, by the way, the Patriots don't really have anybody to throw to. Like, they really don't. So,
no.
But a win's a win, right? You get the win. You're 4-0 in the division, which I think is, like, the big one for me, right? You're 4-0 in the division. You get that win. You got the Seahawks and Cardinals back-to-back in the next 2 weeks. If we can go 1-1, and then you get a little bit of a reprieve because I think you got the Niners beyond that, which, again, I think I watched a little bit of the Niners yesterday, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they're not what they were last year. They're a different team this year, and that's mostly because of the injuries. But
injuries are terrible for them.
But I mean, the Seahawks is going to be interesting because they're really good, but their defense isn't that good. And so if the Bills can figure out a way to move the ball, that could be a straight shootout. You know,
should be fun. I mean, I think that the Seahawks game will be fun for them. Yeah, it might see. I think I might see a little bit more of Zach Moss. I know Singletary ran for 80 yards, but they're giving Moss the goal line carries. Singletary's never really gotten the chance, and that's kind of disappointing because I don't think he's a bad runner at all.
No, and I'll say this: it almost felt like it was like an even split. And yeah, Zach Moss happened to have the ball down. You know, I honestly think it was just his turn in the rotation. Each time they got down there, it just happened to be that way because it did feel like it was almost a true split at times. And they both were ripping off big runs. Again, they were running the ball. I mean, again, I yell at the TV every week because they need to be running the ball. Like they need to run the ball. I mean, Josh Allen is a good quarterback, but like they need to run the ball.
Patriots the last 3 or 4 weeks, they can't stop the run. I think if you have anyone that can run the ball against them, they're done.
Right.
Like you're going to run clock, you're not going to give them a chance to score, and they're not going to stop you.
Yeah, and I'll say this: there's a lot of people, Bills Mafia out there, a lot of folks saying like, "Oh, they're not playing well." They are finding ways to win. The NFL is a long season. There is a lot of parity in the league. Teams that are average can, the Vikings were 1-5, and they just beat the Packers, right? Like, there's a lot of parity in this league, and like, the goal is to win each week. And if they're going to win each week, that's all. They don't score a touchdown against the Jets, that's fine. They come out against the Patriots, and at times they look like they can't be stopped. At times they look flat. At times they look like they're going to blitz every play, and at times they're letting them rip off 15-yard runs. But they find a way to win, and like we're standing at 6-2. It's a win. We're on to Seattle.
Yeah, no, you cannot be mad about that. They're right now the 2 seed, right? And no,
3 seed.
3 seed because I forget Pittsburgh, even though they're pretty nasty.
That's because they haven't lost it. There's no reason. They're just way up here.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the NFL. Let's talk about what happened this week. What do you got first, kid?
I want to talk about the Eagles and Cowboys game last night.
I don't. That wasn't actually a real football game. I don't believe, right? Ben DiNucci. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about how bad Wentz is. 2 picks, 2 fumbles. Dude kept me alive in a fantasy league because it should be over, and because he got negative points, basically, it was amazing. DiNucci can't throw farther than 5 yards down the field.
He's got that.
Oh my God, that one where he was almost running out of bounds, and he was like, "Hey, let me Okajima right here."
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's done. Like you can see it in his face the whole game. Like they started showing it, and I think it was like the third quarter, and his face was just defeated. Like, I think he got 1 target the whole game.
I'll say this: it's got to be tough if you come into it. I'm not gonna give him a pass on this, but it's got to be really tough when you come into a season and you're thinking, we're going to be playoff bound. We're winning 10, 12, 13 games. We got a stud running back. We got wide receivers. We got a quarterback. Our defense is suspect, but we'll figure it out. And then you just absolutely fall apart. I got to assume it is tough to get motivated, but yeah, there's no excuse for it.
I mean, the other part, like Zeke, like he's coming. He doesn't look good. Like I know they're putting 8 in the box, but Pollard's in the game and he looks fast. Zeke does not look fast anymore. I'm not saying he's done, but like it's not exciting to see him get the ball. It's really rough to see the players that have been good really struggling. I mean,
for everybody that paid,
you're gonna end up winning the division with the Eagles, like you picked, and and they're gonna get to what? They're gonna probably end up with like 6 or 7 wins.
I don't think they're gonna get that far.
They're starting to get. I mean, if Wentz figures it out.
Oh, you're talking about the Eagles. Oh, the Eagles. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Because I said you're going to be right. And speaking of right, everything's right in the world with the Giants beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 14-3 right now.
It'll pass.
I hope not.
You shall pass. Here's what I want to say about Wentz. He has the same syndrome that Josh Allen has at times, and Josh Allen has tried to curb it a little bit this year, but he still finds himself doing it, is when you try to do everything on every play. Like Carson Wentz goes out there and tries to score a touchdown on every play, and it's just not realistic. Like you're playing the Dallas Cowboys. They have an awful defense. You should just be dropping back. Here's 6 yards. Here's 7 yards. Here's 5 yards. Here's 10 yards. Hand it off to Scott. Scott was running all over the place. Like, just take what they give you, go down, score a touchdown, 3 and out. DiNucci stinks. Do it again. Boom, boom, boom. Instead, he's trying to chuck it downfield. He's trying to do extra stuff. The first fumble he had, like, I thought Collinsworth was great because Collinsworth was like, what is he doing? He showed the replay. He's like, where's he looking downfield? There's nobody on that side of the field. He just threw it out of bounds and played again. Like, Wentz is just doing all the things that honestly, it leads you to being left out off a roster because, like, you can't do that. You just can't do that.
The deep ball he threw for the pick, like, he was off by like 4 yards to the left and 4 yards deep.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. All right. I mentioned this earlier. Are the 49ers in trouble? Like, I know they have a lot of injuries, but, like, and I know Garoppolo and Kittle go down at the end of the game yesterday, but, like, I mean, it's clear that people feel like Garoppolo is not the answer at quarterback. Like, it feels like he's gone after this year. All his guaranteed money is spoken for. I hear people talking about Matt Ryan, maybe a reunion. I think Shanahan was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's when they blew the Super Bowl.
Right. So, like, I mean, the Niners were supposed to be a really good team this year, and they're barely hanging on right now. And I know injuries have done a lot, but, like, Garoppolo not being able to kind of take that step forward is really hurting them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Patriots were good in trading him, I guess. Maybe he's better under Belichick. But, again, when you don't have the weapons, you don't have a run. Like,
I bet Belichick would love to have him right now.
You got Mostert went down. Wow, Jeff Wilson.
Yep.
Jeff Wilson, Tevin Coleman, Jermichael Hasty or whatever his name is. And then you have McKinnon.
Hasn't really played.
You have, like, they have 6 running backs that have all been productive, and they just get hurt every single time. It's unfortunate. They lost Bosa at the beginning of the year. I mean, obviously, you know, when we talked about the over-unders, I said that they weren't going to make the playoffs. But I didn't – no, I'm sorry. I said they'd make the playoffs, but they wouldn't win the division. And I didn't think it was going to be because, like, you could never have predicted this many injuries.
Right.
Like, this is something, you know, it's a weird year, right? We're in COVID right now. Everything happened. We talked a little bit about the Packers. I mean, we'll talk a little bit later, more towards the end, about the new contingency playoff plan that they're talking about. You just don't know anymore. And you're just trying to get through the season. If you can get to the playoffs, it's kind of like all the other sports. You're there. You're happy. You're just trying to keep your mind away from everything that's going on in the world by work, by doing your job. And 49ers, it's not working this year for some reason. Yeah. But, I mean, the Rams are good. Cardinals are good. Seahawks are good. Yeah. They haven't had the easiest schedule. Right. I mean, that's what happens when you win a division. You have a hard schedule.
Yeah. All right, what's good next?
What I have next is, so if I made you mad, would you run up on me and punch me in the helmet three times?
I'd be trying to rip your mouth guard out because you ripped my mouth guard out. Like, what are we talking about?
No, but, like, okay, fine. You're mad at someone. Hit them in the back from behind or something. Don't punch someone. You're going to break your hand, and you got suspended 2 games. Of course, we're talking about Javon Wims. He supposedly he said that the Saints player spit on him, and then of course, the Saints player denied it. And then when he went up to him, he grabbed his mouth guard out, punched him in the head 3 times, and by the head I mean the helmet. So he didn't feel like the guy just stood there like this. Like, what? My favorite part is actually Malcolm Jenkins jumping on him and getting his teammates back when the guy was just like, I don't even understand what's happening. I love to see the Bears. They're mentally breaking down. They can't hold up. Nick Foles, Big Dick Nick. Maybe it's because he has no one to throw to. Maybe it's because of the Bears. But
I think it's a little bit of everything, right? Like, I don't know, that offensive line doesn't seem very good. Like, yeah, I mean, that whole scene was ridiculous. I mean, you mad because some guy ripped your mouth guard off your helmet. You sit on the sideline for like 5-6 minutes stewing over it. And then the first play back out, you come out and you trying to punch him in the helmet. Like, you are some kind of dumb.
I didn't realize he was out of the game. I thought it happened.
No, I read a Twitter thread where, like, so the play happened, and then the guy got subbed out. The Bears went to run a play. They got to delay a game. Then they had it incomplete. Then there was a punt. And then, like, basically it was like all of this stuff. It was like 5 minutes where, like, dude was sitting on the sideline stewing, planning, scheming to try and rip out a mouth guard and then punch a guy in the head like 3 times. Like, be more dumb. You can't be more dumb.
I mean, the bigger theme here, like I said, is the Bears. They said it on the broadcast. It's a fraud of a 5-2 team. They have no offense, which is crazy because Allen Robinson. I mean, he's been hurt. But after Allen Robinson, they don't have any pass catcher.
It's him and David Montgomery basically with Big Dick Nick.
And David Montgomery is not fantastic. He's not decent, but maybe he needs a line and he'd be really good. They're lucky that defense is as good as they are.
All right. I want to talk about another phantom 5-2 team. The Indianapolis Colts. Let me read to you their schedule so far.
Okay.
All right? Jags, Vikings, Jets, Bears, Browns, Bengals, Lions. That's who they played so far.
What were their 2 losses?
Jags, Browns. Soak that in for a minute. Now,
Browns make sense. I mean, Browns are 5 or 6-2. So
next 4 though. Let me read to you the next 4 games. Ravens, Titans, Packers, Titans. We're going to find out if they're the real deal.
Yeah, it sounds like 2-2.
It sounds like it could be 0-4. You say 2-2.
They have a pretty decent defense. Granted, I know they've played terrible teams.
They have played bad teams. Bad teams. I mean, sure. The Bengals got a win yesterday against the Titans. They're getting better. They're not a good team. Lions, they've never been able to stop anybody. They lost to the Browns and they lost to the Jags week 1. But, like, this is a team that clearly, to your point, phantom 5-2, to me just seems like another phantom 5-2. Like, they could be easily 5-6 in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, to your point, maybe they go 2-2. I think 2-2 is their best shot.
But remember, this is a team that they're over/under. We were both like, why?
I know.
And
but to your point, I mean, that makes sense because they easily could be 7-0 right now. They've played a good team. And again, to your point earlier, the Vikings are a better team than 2-5, but they started off awful,
yes.
Right? And, like, there's not a good team in those teams I just listed. I mean, maybe the Bears, but you just called them phantom. Like, none of those teams have winning records. They all stink. So, I mean, yeah, I get why they were going to get 9 wins because they had literally 7 games off the jump that they could have won.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize that they.
It was just something I was looking at this earlier today when I was looking at what to talk about. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, how are the Colts good? And I looked at their schedule. I was like, oh. I was like, wait a minute. They lost to the Jags. I know. I guess week one. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Because everyone we jumped on the Jags. They got blown out too, right?
They've lost to the Jags and the Browns, 2 teams that can't get themselves together. Cannot get themselves together.
I love that you're saying this, but yet the Browns are what, 6-2?
They lost yesterday. They looked awful yesterday,
Oh, you're right. They did. They lost to Vegas. You're right. So they're 5-3.
Touchdown against Vegas yesterday. in Cleveland. And I know home field advantage, whatever, but like Vegas plays in a dome in Las Vegas, and Cleveland it was snowing.
Yeah.
What do you got next?
How do the Chargers keep blowing these games? I mean, like we talked about it. I mean, the Falcons have blown some games. I mean, they've blown some games. Like that Dallas game, that game against the Lions where they lost with 0 seconds left on the clock after Gurley scored. We talked about it last week. But the Chargers, they had Tampa Bay on the ropes 2 weeks ago. They had Denver on the rope. They let Drew Lock come back on them. And then, I don't know what happened. Like, Herbert is good. Like, we talked about it a few weeks ago. Like, do you give Tyrod you give him the reins back when he comes back because they're 0-3. I think they've only won one game since we talked about that. And
you riding with Herbert.
It's not his fault.
No.
He's put up in both those losses. He's put up plus 30.
And we've said at the beginning of the season, this is a team that had a good defense, right? Like the defense was the strength. It was the offensive line. It was Phillip Rivers. It was like they couldn't score points, but the defense was there. They're ready to go. He was giving them every chance to win games. He's dropping dimes out there, putting up ducats. Yep. And I mean, to watch Denver just kind of creep on down the field at the end of the game, you're thinking, no way. And you know what all this is going to do is give them, gives the Chargers a franchise quarterback and
a better pick.
In a top 10 pick, right? Like that's all that's going to do, right? It is what it is.
It's NFL related, but it is more fantasy related. I will now in Hotness 2.0 will be starting Justin over Lamar the rest of the season because Lamar is terrible right now.
He'll get back on track.
Oh, I'm sure he will, but until I see something, he gone.
All right. I've done this a couple of weeks already, but I'm going to keep bringing it up.
I assume you're going Steelers?
No. Well, I mean, that's on my list too, but we'll come back to that. I just want to reiterate the conversation of Bill Belichick and the Patriots versus Tom Brady. I know that the Bucs might be losing right now, but that conversation is clearly over. The Patriots stink. Belichick has all but admitted that this is a reset year. They're going to have to figure out a way to get their cap straight. They got all this dead money, and Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are racing to the playoffs. And it just warms my heart that the Patriots are not doing well. I mean, again, there was a part of that during that game where I was like, I need to prepare myself for the fact yesterday, like that the Bills might lose this game, which is just going to piss me off. And then when they won, I was like, this is it. Like the Patriots are 2-6. They're not getting any better. Cam Newton isn't getting any better. And the Bills kept them in that game. Like it's going to be interesting to see what the Patriots do in the offseason, but like, bruh, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, they're not getting to the playoffs because they'd have to win the next 8 to have a shot.
And they need a lot of, like, the other part of it is that they need a lot of help. I mean, his whole point in his conversation yesterday was like, and again, they won championships, so like you can't blame them, but like they're maxed out, and like they're maxed out financially, but also they don't have talent and their team is old, right? Like they don't have anybody to throw the ball to. Their running back situation is okay. Their offensive line is all right. Their defense is all right, but like you can't just keep counting on the McCourty brothers to keep coming back year after year. Like they're gonna have to. And Gilmore's a free agent after this year, so like
I hope they give Damian Harris a chance, like to be the back. I mean, he's looked good in the 2 games where he's been that not quite. Well, one game he was a bell cow. Yesterday he wasn't quite there, but he was on the cusp. I think he should get the chance. I know Belichick doesn't like to do that.
He's never going to do that. It's not going to happen.
And I understand. I mean, but one thing I do want to say about the Patriots this year is they had 8 good players opt out at the beginning of the season for COVID. I'm not giving them excuses because you once that happens, you have to replace them. but Patrick Chung's not there, so defense is a little bit.
But they didn't replace him. That's what they had all that money and they didn't replace him. So like that, I get your point, but like they got all that cap money and they didn't do anything with it.
Fair enough.
Like, like again, I think this is Belichick like in real time tanking while like still being able to coach a team good enough to look like they're not completely tanking.
Right.
But they're not. I mean,
he's also going to turn that first round pick into like 17 picks in the second,
right,
third,
right. And he'll probably go out, sign Jimmy Garoppolo because he'll be a free agent, and him and Josh McDaniels will make a great pair, and they'll be great.
Sorry,
I don't know if that was going to. All right, what you got?
All right, I'll go one more. Let's go with. I got to go with the Dolphins. Tua was fine. Like, he didn't do anything.
No, he wasn't that good. I mean,
he was fine.
Right. He threw for what, like 80 yards or something?
His touchdown pass, by the way, was he never should have thrown the ball. Like, let's be honest. Like, okay, it ended up being called a defensive pass interference, but in no way is that a ball that anyone would throw. Yes, the window was yay big, and he made it happen. But what I think I saw was a team feel like it had a chance. Like, I don't know why, but it felt like it was a team that was like, well, yes, we're winning the games with Ryan Fitzpatrick. This is our future. Let's go make our future now. A player like Christian Wilkins, he went out. He had a sack, a fumble. He had his first interception. Like, they sack fumble. They had for a touchdown. They had a punt return for a touchdown. Everyone seemed to step up. Gaskin had a really good game. They have Kansas City, and I want to say Arizona as well. They have two really tough teams coming up, but after that, they have a legitimately decent schedule to make a little bit of a run if Tua can figure it out. But at least he has two games.
Well, here's the deal. I don't know if you heard the comments. The reason that they're starting Tua is that they want to see if they have a legit quarterback because they have the Titans first round pick, and they want to know if they want to go out to see if they need to go after another quarterback.
Got it.
This is their move. They want to see if Tua is actually the future, or if they need to go out and draft. If they can get into the Lawrence deal or Justin Fields, the guy from Ohio State. So like,
yeah.
I mean, again, I still don't know how good Miami is. It seems like the Rams played about as poorly as you could play. They gave up every type of touchdown that you could possibly give up. And so, yeah.
One thing I want to say, and I had this argument with a friend years ago about the Patriots. It was when the Broncos beat the Patriots in the playoffs by like 30. I don't know if you remember that. I think Champ Bailey had like a 99-yard touchdown interception. And I was like, man, Denver played so good. And like, no, they didn't beat us. We beat ourselves. And, and I don't want to take away from like maybe LA the Rams did not play great because Miami had a really good game plan. Like, that's completely possible.
That's good. I'll deal with that.
But it's just like, and I'm obviously going to fight that when it's the Patriots because, but it'll be cool to see. Like, it's cool to see.
It's not going to be cool. Don't talk about the Dolphins winning games being cool. Just stop right there. Just stop.
But let's just.
Because if I was like, it'd be really cool to see the Bears win the division, you'd be like, what the hell is wrong with you?
No, that's fair. But listen, let me have one statement, and you'll understand why I'm saying it. The Bills are good, if not really good, and the Dolphins are winning games. The Patriots aren't. One of those two teams are going to win the division. It's going to be the Bills, but it's not going to be the Patriots, and it's –
Watch yourself. I'm just telling you, watch yourself. All right, last one. I'm staying in the AFC North. Steelers are still undefeated. And the Bengals beat the Titans. The Steelers, I can't, like, they're a good team. I just, like, And here's what I'm going to say. They beat a really good Ravens team by a little bit. And everybody, and I feel like I walked away being like, are they a good, like, Steelers are really good. Like, let's just stop. They're the only undefeated team in the league. And, like, they're just picking people off left and right. Like, back-to-back wins against the Titans and the Ravens. Like, let's, I just mentioned the Colts haven't played a team with a winning record. I mean, except for the Browns. But, like, they just picked off two of the best teams in the AFC back-to-back. Like, they're really good. And on the other side, like, I thought the Titans were really good. I picked them to win yesterday, and then the Bengals blow them out.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I want to say. If you had heard that the Titans, you had Henry going for 18 for 112 and a touchdown, and Tannehill was 18 of 30 with 2 touchdowns, you'd be like, oh, they won. Titans won.
No, because, 112, that's what, like his
on 18 runs,
game?
though. On 18 runs.
I know.
30 runs, he probably got about 270.
No, I feel your Pittsburgh thing. I'd love to see what happens, like how the injury for Cam Hayward is, because that's going to be, if they lose him, that's going to be a tough loss. Question for you about did you watch any of the Ravens-Steelers game?
Not really.
All right, so there was a play on, I can't remember if it was the last drive of the game, and Hayward went down, and as the Ravens were up at the line, he's back there. They didn't put any time back on the clock, even though as soon as he went down, it should have been timeout defense because of the injured player.
Mm-hmm.
They let 12 seconds run off, and they only had 8 seconds to score a touchdown instead of getting like another 10 seconds back on the clock. I didn't like it. I was surprised they didn't put it back on. I'm not saying that's what cost the Ravens the game, because they took the lead twice in the fourth quarter and blew it both times.
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised that they didn't put time clock back on the clock.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but that is kind of odd. I don't really get that. All right. Tell me about these new playoffs. Tell me about this playoff plan.
You see it yet?
No. Tell me about it.
So probably about an hour before we were coming down here, got the ESPN update that the NFL owners are talking about a 16-team COVID contingency playoffs. So right now it's 14-team, 7-7. So they're thinking about if bye weeks start getting impacted and people start losing their bye weeks, that they're going to, or losing games, I should say, they're going to say one more team should make it, because if they play one less game, they should get into the playoffs, and they're going to go no byes, 1 versus 8.
So basically what you're telling me is the NFL is planning on part of the season getting canceled because we as a country can't get this COVID shit under control. That's what you're telling. Basically, that's what the NFL admitted tonight, is that, like, yeah, we fucked up as a country. So,
I mean, number one prospect, Trevor Lawrence, who said, #we want to play. I'm sorry. I mean, I get it. Like, they wanted to play, but they're not the NFL. They put all these students in the stands. I'm not going to go on a long tirade about this because, I mean, my kid's playing soccer, so I can't say much. But
here's my thing. If the NFL is really concerned about this, stop letting people in the stadiums.
See Tyreek Hill jump into the stands?
If you are that concerned, go to a bubble model. Take all your players and send them to Disney right now. If you are that concerned.
Yeah,
but again, they're not. Because at the end of the day, they're going to let people into the stands because it's about money. Right, exactly. Like this is them, we're going to add a team to the playoffs so that we can have one more playoff game so that we can show more playoff games because more people watch. Again, kudos on to them for having a contingency plan, if whatever, but like, come on, y'all, please stop. If you were really this concerned, you'd have gone in a bubble, but you weren't. You're not.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right, let's move to last call. Kid, what do you have?
No, see, this is what I'm going to do.
No, I'm sorry. Last call presented by Progression Brewery. Here we go.
No doubt. I'm going to let you go first because I think we're going to come pretty close to the same one because there's nothing that we should be talking about more than what's happening tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean,
by the time you listen to this, it's today.
Yes. So last call presented by Progression Brewery. By the time you hear this, if you listen to this, which you should because it's hot fire, most people will have voted in the election. And obviously the one that makes the most, that people are most concerned about is the presidential election. But up and down the ballot, there are important races all over this country.
Yep.
Over 90, 95 million people have already voted. In the last election, there was about 130 million people who voted. So we're up there near 75% of the people that voted 4 years ago have already voted this time around. Take that for what you will. The people I talk to, the people I listen to say it's more Democrats, but that's neither here nor there. If you haven't voted already, make a plan to vote. If your state still allows it and you can drop off a mail-in vote tomorrow, do it. But if you can get to a poll, you need to get to a poll because there is some serious voter suppression happening out there. There are some states where there are some Republican folks that are trying to suppress votes. The president is tweeting that votes shouldn't be counted. There is some really, really raunchy stuff happening right now. And for anybody who's out there saying that these folks aren't evil, please get the hell out of my face. Because they are pushing back against democracy. They are pushing back against the right that we earn as citizens to place our vote. Whether you're in Pennsylvania, you're in Massachusetts, you're in Texas, California, wherever, Florida. Like these people are in the courts with Republican judges trying to keep the vote down. And I'm just telling people, if you can get to the polls tomorrow, cast that vote, do it proud. In my opinion, you should vote blue, but that's just me. What you got, man?
I mean, I'm going to jump on it. You know, no matter what the line is like, stay in line. As long as you're in line by the time the polls close, you're allowed to vote. It's important. Like, they're going to try to intimidate you. You've seen it Trump supporters have shut down bridges, because, you shouldn't be in the middle of the roadway. If it was Black Lives Matter, they'd want to run you over. I'm not saying
or they'd call the police. They'd call the police if it was Black Lives Matter because you can't do anything destructive, but you stand in the middle.
I don't know if you saw the video, the voter intimidation where they tried to run the Biden bus off the road in Texas. Listen, I have hope. I think that there are a lot of younger, our generation and younger, are ready for something different. I'm anxious. I'm nervous. I don't know what to think. Like tomorrow, I kind of want to wake up at 7 and start drinking because I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not going to do that. But if you hear of someone that can't get to the polls and you want to bring them, help them. Do whatever you can. We need to do this for the nation. It's our civic duty. We have to do it. I've always been about voting, but this is the election that has put me to the point of being more political and realizing that some of these things that we're talking about aren't politics. It's not politics. It's you're just a shitty person that thinks that it's okay for people to wait in line for 7 hours and hope that they turn around and they're like, I'm done. That line's too long. It's not okay. We need to get out there. We need to support our people of color. We have to everybody. Let's vote for the United States. Don't vote for you personally. Vote for the United States.
Yeah, and I'll just say this too. If regardless of what happens tomorrow and what the results are over the next couple of days, the people that have been the loudest, in my opinion, have been the people on the side of change, have been the people on the side of democracy, have been the people who want us to think about the rest of the country, not just ourselves. Those people aren't going to stop working regardless who wins tomorrow, right? If it goes blue, there's going to be questions asked immediately of what are you going to do for this country? And if it goes red, people are going to dig their heels in and get ready for another 4 years that could be tumultuous. In my opinion, probably will be, but that's neither here nor there. The work isn't going to stop. I do think some of the hate will stop in the next 4 or 5 days. stuff, the name calling, the stuff that's continuing to happen because of the Trump folks. I think there will be some people that continue to be loud. There's going to be a lot of people that go away because this was their 4 years. This was their chance to be a bully, but that's going to be over.
Oh, you're saying if Trump loses, it's going to go away?
Oh, it's going to be over, Doc.
Oh, okay.
The bullies are going to go home. They are going to go home.
If Trump loses, those caravans of trucks with flags are going to be all over the place. It's just
sure,
like,
but no one's going to have
like
my point is no one is going to listen to them.
If Biden loses, the protests are going to happen, and they're going to make it look like they were being. It's going to be ugly. There's going to be violence. There's going to be. I don't. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm really worried for the United States over the next 4 or 5 days, if not month, if not.
Well, not to mention that there's no stimulus coming, and folks are still out of work. Yeah. And we're hitting the holidays, and COVID cases are up, hospitalizations are up, deaths are up. We got work to do, folks. That's what I mean. The work isn't going to stop. We're not going to stop talking about COVID. We're not going to stop putting in work for this country because regardless of who's in charge, we still have our civic duty to get this work done.
No doubt.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Holla at your boy.
Peace.